Good morning, everyone, and happy Saturday. Welcome to the first virtual Fall Leadership Conference. As the conference continues this morning, please remember to mute your microphones to be respectful to presenters, state staff, and the state officers. Please take a note of the slide with all of our Skills USA California social media platforms. If you have a second now, take a moment to take a picture so that you can add them later. It is my pleasure to now introduce our Skills USA California 2020-2021 State Officer Team. Please welcome our Skills USA High School President, Layali Hamad.
The meeting will come to order. The thought for the day will be given by Natalia Enriquez.
A leader is one who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. John C. Maxwell.
The emblem is symbolic of the Skills USA organization. You're about to witness the emblem ceremony, in which the meaning of each component of our emblem will be given and the significance of the colors described. Mr. Parliamentarian.
The shield represents patriotism. The shield denotes our belief in democracy, liberty, and the American way of life. Madam Reporter.
The gear represents the industrial society. The gear, symbolic of the industrial society, denotes the independence and cooperation of the individual working with mankind. Mr. Treasurer.
The torch represents knowledge. The flaming torch reflects the light of knowledge, which dispels the darkness of ignorance. In the light of the torch, progress will be made towards the vocational goals of the individual. Mr. Secretary.
The orbital circles represent technology. The circles represent the challenge of modern technology and the training needed to accept and master new technical frontiers and the need for continuous education. Madam Vice President.
The hands represent the individual. The hands portray a search for knowledge and our desire to acquire a skill. In the process of attaining knowledge and skill, we will develop a respect for the dignity of work and become productive and responsible citizens. Madam Historian.
With the affixing of the golden hands, we add the final official color of Skills USA. The colors of the emblem represent our organization. Red and white represent the individual states and the chapters. Blue represents the common union of the states and the chapters. And gold represents the individual, the most important element of Skills USA. Madam President.
All of the components constitute our emblem. Separately, they could be applied to many organizations, but as one unit, they represent the fundamental principles and purposes of our organization. The emblem represents Skills USA. We will respect the flag with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome students, advisors, staff, and guests to our first virtual Fall Leadership Conference. We're glad you all were able to make it out bright and early this Saturday morning. During your time here at the Fall Leadership Conference, we hope you engage and participate in all conversations and activities and take back some very informative material to your schools and chapters. For our student leaders, you'll be able to participate in a mock job interview, discover fundraising opportunities to support your chapter, and learn how to conduct virtual chapter meetings while utilizing parliamentary procedures to start off your Skills USA season strong. Today, workshops will be conducted by your lovely state officer team. Your Skills USA California president is myself, Layali Hamad from Region 3. Your Vice President is Jolene Lee from Region 3. Your Secretary is Ishan Subramaniam from Region 6. Your Treasurer is Micah Mekatarian from Region 3. Your Parliamentarian is Derek Thatch from Region 1. Your Historian is Vani Tiagi from Region 3. Your Reporter is Janessa Baza Lazalde from Region 6. Your Region VP North/Alumni Liaison is Priyanka Prasad from Region 1. Your Region VP South/Social Media is Jocelyn Gonzalez from Region 3, and your Sergeant at Arms is Natalia Enriquez from Region 5. Enjoy your time here in the workshops and take in as much information as possible. Now, Please welcome your State Executive Director, Clay Mitchell.
Thank you, Leali, and good morning, everybody. It's great to see you on this Saturday morning. Hope everybody was able to drive to the meeting okay. You know, virtual, that's the new thing we've all pivoted to for this year, and certainly our fall leadership events are no different than your daily classroom routine. So I appreciate you being here, appreciate you signing up and following those directions, communicating the way we're all doing on a virtual basis now. And certainly the staff has put in an amazing amount of work to put this together. Back in March, when the COVID virus hit, we were all trying to figure out what to do and how to do it. And quite honestly, I was a little saddened to not be able to be with you in person today and see everybody. I'd love to shake your hand and say hello and talk about all the things you've done over the summertime. But we're all in the COVID thing together. We're here on a virtual basis. And again, thanks to certainly Loretta and the staff, and all the people that worked so hard to put the slides together and meet numerous times, and we hope you enjoy your day. Again, State Officer team, great job. Let's give Leali and the team a big hand. You need to do that in person, or you can do that on your screen either way. Good job, Leali. Nice job, team. Appreciate it, Mr. Tycho and Ms. Navarrete as well. So it's my pleasure to introduce the team to you now. Loretta Cabadiao is your membership and chapter development coordinator. Tanisha Jones.
Morning.
Tanisha Jones, data and scoring coordinator. She handles all your invoices.
Hi.
All right. Ashley Conger, Regions 1 and 4 manager. Ashley?
Morning.
Antonio Garcia, Regions 2 and 5 manager.
Hi, good morning.
There you go, Antonio. Tom Vasella, Region 3 and 6 down there in beautiful Burbank. Tom. Rachel Navarrete, State Officer Trainer.
Morning.
David Tycho, State Officer Trainer.
Morning.
Sylvia Phillips with the National Staff. Sylvia, you on with us yet this morning? See you there. Sylvia will be joining us to support our work here at the Fall Leadership event. Tara Nielsen, our State Advisor for Skills USA and Department of Education. Tara.
Morning.
Nikki Gerner will be joining us today, our Advisor of the Year, and supporting us with some of the presentations that we have related to classroom implementation. Nikki?
Good morning, everyone.
Leonard Moreno, Advisor at the Academies, the Antelope Valley of Virtual School, to share some information may help you on the virtual world. Leonard?
Well, hello there. Good morning.
Emily Cromwell, I think it's Emily Cromwell with Granite Hills High School, right, Emily? And one of our state certified trainers in the Career Essentials is going to be sharing information with you about that. Emily?
Morning.
Is it Cornwell or Cromwell?
It's Cornwell. That's okay.
Give you something to change and help us out with. And Nate Ermston, Advisor at Kern ROC and former Regional Coordinator. Nate?
Good morning.
And our last two on the list, but certainly not forgotten, Ray Jabber, one of our alumni coordinators, and Faustino Turin, who are working hard to try and make the Alumni Association become a better part of our organization. So it's a great team that we have put together today. And so with that, I'm going to turn it back, I believe, to the state officer team. Is that correct?
Okay, so now we're going to be talking about some important Zoom tips and etiquette rules to follow. First, you're going to be learning a lot of new information today, and it's going to be really important for you to stay engaged and to listen to all the presenters and make sure you're taking notes because you want to share this with your chapter, this really important information so that they can also learn something new. Now we're going to also be talking about some etiquette rules. First thing to know is that you should always keep your mic on mute because background noise could be really detrimental to what the presenters are saying. And keep your camera on because we want to see those smiling faces. Another thing to remember is in Zoom, try to keep in speaker mode and don't go into gallery mode. And then if you have any questions, just go ahead and type in the chat down below in the toolbar where you see the speech bubble. And another way to know that you're engaged so that we know is that down at the corner right, you'll see where it says reactions with the smiley face emoji and the plus sign at the top. Go ahead and click that and give us a thumbs up or clapping hands to know that you're engaged and you're listening to what we have to say. Thank you. And now I'd like to welcome Natalia Enriquez, our Surgeon of Arms.
Good morning, everyone. So before we continue, I would like you guys to please change your name if you haven't already. You can see the example there. First, your first name, then the initial of your last name, then your region. But if you don't know your region, that's okay. As you can see here on the slide, we have your region just in case you don't know it. So yeah. And if you guys don't know how to rename yourself, that's okay as well. You could either hover over your square, click the three dots, and then click rename, or you could go click participants, hover over your name, click more, and then rename. So yeah. Next we have Layali Hamad, our president.
Thank you, Natalia. So right now we're going to be doing something a little fun, a virtual scavenger hunt. In 3 minutes or less, go find all the items on the list and bring them back to your workspace. First person to gather all the items and type their list in the chat wins. Ready?
I'm sorry, what's happening? I just got my audio to work.
Oh, it's okay. Right now we're doing a virtual scavenger hunt. Just real quick. It's not going to take too long, 3 minutes or less. And we have a list of items in which we want you guys to collect. Real quick, can I see the list, please? Sorry.
I thought you were going to say ready, set, go.
I did. Did I say? I said ready, set, go.
Okay, there we go.
All right, so we want you guys to get a computer or smart device, conference guide, blue or black pen, lined paper, piece of candy, or fruit, and specify what piece of candy or fruit you have. So real quick, 3 minutes or less, in the chat, we want you guys, once you have all those items, to type it out. Connie has her iPad already, her guide, her blue pen. She's on top of it. She's almost there. Only has 2 more items, lined paper, and a pear. So I think Connie's our winner already. So real quick, she took no time to waste. So if you could, Connie, if you could share, like, do you have your camera on right now? If you could turn on your mic and show those items to everyone, that'd be really great.
Well, I need to turn my virtual background off, sorry. It's not showing. Okay, so I have my line paper and my pen here, and I have my pear, and I have my tablet, my iPad, and my guide is open on half of my screen right now.
So you were on top of it. You had it all ready, which is what we want for all you guys. So obviously we need a computer or smart device to actually access the Zoom call. Conference guide is really important just so everyone can follow along. And that blue or black pen and lined paper is really important for taking some good notes today, taking back some important information back to your chapters. And that piece of candy or fruit, you know, if things quiet down a little bit, we want you guys to have a snack just so everyone can be energized today and have a really good time. And I see a lot of other people have their items, which is really great. We want you guys to have all those items just to be prepared for today. So thank you so much, Connie. Thank you everyone who has their items. I really appreciate it.
All right, so now that you guys all have your conference guide, I'll be talking about how this will all work. So in a few minutes, you'll be moving to your first round of breakout rooms, and all the links to the rooms can be found on the 6th page of your conference guide. You guys should have already accessed it since that's how you got to this meeting. So all the Zoom links are in that guide. If you have it up on a PDF, you can just keep it handy on another tab. So you guys will be clicking on the link for the breakout room that corresponds to your specific status. So either a student leader, you'll be going into the student conference, and if you're an advisor, you'll be going to either the new or returning advisor link. And after that, you guys will be returning to the general session link if you need assistance or when your breakout session ends. So if you don't know where to go or if you have any questions, you can type it in the chat or ask admin Tanisha Jones. She'll be staying in the main room, so if you have questions, you can just stay in this room for a bit longer to get your answers. And students, you guys will be staying in the student conference room until approximately 12:15. So in that, you guys will be moving throughout the breakout rooms, but we'll be staying put in the same Zoom meeting. Advisors, on the other hand, you'll be moving throughout the different meetings with different breakout rooms or general sessions. So just make sure you're on top of it with your links and ready to go. And in between each session, there will be 3-minute breaks. So don't worry if you're stuck in the Zoom waiting room or if it says you're waiting for the host, just stay put and we'll be there as soon as possible. And throughout the worksheet or throughout the conference, you guys can also refer back to the conference guide for the different worksheets that correspond to your workshop. Or if you look on the very last page, on page 22, there are links to all of our presentations and any other resources that will be used. Yeah, so if we're all ready here, you guys can go ahead and leave this meeting and go into your specific breakout sessions. We're looking forward to the day ahead and good job, guys.
Of course, my note sheet didn't print out, but that's okay. So in session 2, here's some of the things we're going to discuss. Talk about the 2021 regional conferences and had some really interesting discussions that came up in the last meeting about that. Event schedules, we're going to talk about contest preparation and participation. We're going to talk about rules and limitations. Something everybody is probably excited to see on the list, new substitution policy, registration results, and then an overview of the breakout room options. So next slide. Click up here where it says present.
No, why it's bumping it out. I'm not doing anything.
It's okay.
You get me now?
It's loading.
There we go. Does that look right? Let me try to reset it real quick. Sorry.
Okay, not a problem. It's the joy of technology. At least we have internet connections today, which is good.
Did you use the right adjective there? Joy?
Joy, that's right. I'm trying to stay joyful on this stuff. Come on now.
Is it showing it full screen for you guys? Because it's not showing it full screen for me.
Yes. Great. Yeah.
We're good.
Perfect.
Yes, you're good, Tanisha.
On my side, I can see like my taskbar and everything too.
There you go.
We can see your slides.
Look again. There you go. This one does it.
But we'll just go like that.
All right. We're going to talk a little bit here about the virtual competition events. So, and we have some time, so we may go a little short. Who knows? We'll see here. Regional conferences, January and February 2021, they're going to be 100% virtual. We have one contest per member. That hasn't changed since last year. Everything is still the same. Again, heard some of the challenges that some districts are doing where they have all of their advanced students not coming in until January. So that's we're going to have to be creative and figure out how we reach out and make this happen for everybody. But certainly 100% virtual, one contest per member, leadership or skill. State conference is in April 2021. We anticipate it being held on a live basis, but we're going to stay tuned for updates on that because certainly there's some big news coming out about the decision of the format on November 15th, which will be held in Atlanta, Georgia. And the decisions are just dealing with realities. For example, if we were to hold a state conference in April of 2021, you don't have to, this is a rhetorical question. How many of you could show up at the current time? I've heard in a number of calls I've been on, everything from CITEA to local chapters to talking to folks that there's a high possibility that they're not going to have their students or their advisors be allowed to travel at all this year. And so certainly from an equity and involvement standpoint, we want to make sure that whatever we do is going to make it so that all students that are capable of participating or want to participate can do so. Now, there are realities of the world of changes that people do that will preclude them from doing that, and that's unfortunate. But certainly, we want to make it work so that we can have the most people involved as we possibly can. So those are some of the decision process. I see people are typing in no field trips, no field trips, no field trips. I've actually heard a couple of times from people that they've removed all of their CTE money, which Tara, who's online with us today, will talk about that a little bit and what kind of challenges that can create for your school if that in fact is what happens, because those CTE dollars are to support those programs. So there's a little bit of a layout. Now, next slide, please. Someone just said, no way you can take a bus from Sacramento to LA. You could ride the mega bus. So tentative regional schedules. So you can, and again, this is all available to you. It'll be posted when we get done with the conferences. So make sure that we deal with that.
And Clay, their regional pages have been updated with those dates.
Great, great. So yeah, if you looked at your, if you took a moment and looked back at your Skills USA California website and you looked at regional pages, it had the last year's information up until earlier this week. It is something that has been updated so that it reflects these dates. And when you look at the leadership events, those are that, we picked those dates back early in June, posted those as regions 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Obviously that changed. And so when we pivoted in June and went to a virtual basis, we did it in a different manner. So you'll have leadership events the first 3 weekends. Probably that 123 may be a little bit light on leadership because we think we can do them in 2 weekends. And then the skill contests on Saturdays, 123, 130, 26, and 220. And we'll talk a little bit about those numbers in parentheses later on. Those are the dates. That's 2 weeks out. That we will have some things that will have to be done 2 weeks prior to. Contest information releases. So we're going to give you the contest listing. Those are all the things. That is actually in your guide, but it's not complete because we have to update that a little bit. There's always tweaks, as you know, that we do those tweaks as time goes on to make sure that we include everything. There is a national drone event. They've redone that for this year. We have a Faciliton event, a number of different things we're doing. So those will be included as well. So the contest listing will be out prior to October 14th. Contest guidelines will be out prior to November 13th. They're going to be much smaller than they were last year. For everybody to deal with things. Contest requirements, we will have those as soon as they're available to us from our technical committees and contest coordinators. For example, some of them just aren't going to be able to be done in a face-to-face basis. We know that students may not have a complete auto shop at home. We know that they may not have a complete woodworking shop at home. Business and industry has been stepping up and they're continuing to do so. And so we're trying to get things done with those tech committees and the contest coordinators so that they can do something that every student can participate in if they choose to do so. So those requirements are going to be different. They will be based off the national standards, obviously, and the national standards are going to be updated this year as well because they've been asked to do a face-to-face setting, a hybrid setting, and a completely virtual setting. So we should have those before the end of this calendar year. As to what goes on. And it's unfortunate that we don't have them sooner because that makes it tough for our tech committee people to make those decisions as well. December 2020, each contest schedule date and time of competition. So for the people that register, and registration ends coming up on November 13th this year, a little bit earlier, because we have to prepare all the score sheets and all the information and make adjustments so that we can get all of those contestant schedules, time of competition, and everything out. So what is that going to look like? We'll talk about that in just a moment, but certainly it's important that we have every student's email as complete as possible. And it's also important that we have all the advisors' information as correct as possible. I know we had some glitches just in this meeting. It's always good to do multiple things online before we get to the big event where it becomes real critical, because a number of the emails that were sent out to advisors notifying them this meeting bounced back for a number of reasons. Many times it's the system at the local level that kicks it out, so we have to send those individually. Or many times it's a misspelling that is, just unintentional, but it happens. So we really want to communicate as best we can with you. We send out weekly emails through our mass emailer system. Everybody even went so far in sending out the information this time to download all of the email addresses from the mass emailer system and use her private email system to get that out, so that maybe that would bypass some of the situations, because I know the mass emailer system gets blocked quite often. So we appreciate those efforts. We're doing everything we can to try and make that work. We do have Tuesday talks, which is an opportunity for you trying to make that happen. Just saw a pop up on my screen, what if a student has a conflict in times? That's going to be a challenge for us, quite honestly, because what is happening from a judge's side, I'll give you a 10-second overview. So we're going to run all events, like if we have arts, media, entertainment, if we have TV video production, all of the TV video production judging will happen on one day. All 6 regions, one day. Now, what does that look like? We'll talk about it in the competitions piece a little bit later on, but certainly it's, if a student can't make that day, we can't have that entire team of judges come back another Saturday to do that team, or else those judges would be judging 6 Saturdays in a row. So it is a modification from what we've done in the past, but certainly we want to give you that information far enough in advance so that those students can make plans to be there on those days that we do those events. All right, next slide. Nisha, next slide. Yeah, as Loretta mentioned just in the chat, I know somebody said maybe they can pick something else. We're working on getting that list of the days and everything that's going on as quickly as we can. It does depend on registration though. You know, it's what came first, the chicken or the egg. Some of it depends on when those things are available. A number of our teams are already meeting. I know a number of the Wood teams, know the AME folks have already met. They've been working for the past couple of months to try and make this happen. Rules and limitations, similar to what they were last year. CEP level 1 completed by 11/13. That is also the day that registration is due for the regional conferences. Contest limits by region. The contest will apply. We will get those done as quickly as we can. Check your region's page. As soon as they're available, we will get them up there. As you can imagine, trying to make it happen before, it was fairly simple. We would look at, you know, a 3 or 4 hour time slot. How many people could we legitimately do in a regional event in that time slot at a facility that we had selected, and we would make it happen. But certainly this year, that competition is going to look significantly different. Contestants are not required to wear official dress, attire for virtual contests. The reason is you don't have access to your classrooms. You don't want students wearing clothes necessarily that maybe someone else has done. So there's all those things that come up. So the clothing they wear can't have any words, can't have any names, can't have school names, shouldn't have school images or logos on them. You know, simple business dress attire or contest dress attire. If they don't have that, you know, we just don't want something that has something bad on it. So it's no marijuana leaves, no pictures of kids doing strange things. I mean, attire today looks a lot different. And then personal protective equipment will not be required for the contests. It may be something that is required if they're doing a video demonstration. And that is something that we have to talk to our folks who are developing the contest as well. So those are a short list of the rules and limitations that we're looking at, that some are changed for this year. Some of you are probably cheering, and just know that these changes are being made for this year specifically. It doesn't mean from this point forward, we're not going to require contest attire to be what it has been in the past. We're in a situation this year that is very unique. It does mean that we will have to look at it for next year as well to make sure that that is part of it. Right?
Okay, we have a quick question in the chat. Sure. That everybody might want to hear. Will students be disqualified if they are dressed with logos?
Depends on what the logo is. If it's a health career logo that's on their shirt that says, you know, Clay Mitchell High School Health Academy, yeah, that would be probably a disqualification. Because remember, we're trying to keep this as nondescript as we possibly can. And so if we have a judge, and maybe they know that Health Academy, and maybe they know they're really good, and they see that, it's going to change their opinion and mind as to how they view that student. It's certainly something that we don't want on there. Other logos, I mean, I don't know. I guess the question, I'd have to ask a little clarifying question as to what logo are you talking about, if that's a big issue. Again, nothing is set in stone necessarily. I mean, these are things that we've developed thinking that they are all very workable. If you have a challenge or an issue, please let us know when it comes to that sort of thing, because we do want to make it work for everybody.
I think the key to that is just that we cannot identify their school, that they will be represented by their contestant number, and no other way for the judges to know who they are and where they're from.
Yeah, no, somebody just typed in no political logos either. No political logos either. If they have access to their uniform, yes, Annabelle, if they have access to their uniform, they can certainly wear that. If they have scrubs already, if they have welding attire, if they have construction attire, if they have their stuff that they had from last year that they used, maybe they're a senior and they've been in the program 2 or 3 years and they have their own personal attire, that's certainly acceptable. I guess the key on this is we're not going to dock them points if they're not wearing appropriate contest attire. Does that make sense? Is that a better clarification? Next slide.
All right, now we're talking about conference registration. So the first thing is a tip or a reminder is that membership and conference registrations are completely separate. So when you go in and you register you and yourselves and your students and everything as members, you then have to go to the conference tab in the registration system and make sure that you also register anyone for the conference, any conference, whether that be regional, state, national, any of that, FLC. They are separate registrations. So we just want to make that very clear because every year we get students who come to one of the regional conferences and they're like, I registered, and they show me and I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry, that's for membership. They didn't actually register you for the conference itself. So we want to prevent that. And then in order to register for any of the conferences, you do have to be a member first. So there's a step, an order of step there. We do recommend for all advisors to get all of their registrations done at least 3 days before the closure registration closes. So in the case of regionals, that's going to be November 13th. So get them in like 3 days before. Make the goal, write the note on your calendar that registration closes on November 10th, just so you have that time to go back and make any edits that need to be made. We also recommend that you make your students responsible for the accuracy of their own information. So send them, you know, whatever information you put in there and have them check it, because that's so much easier for them to check their own information than for an advisor to check it for every single student that they're doing. And then that will give you the opportunity to make any changes or to contact us if you're having any issues with registering. And then the last step with conference registrations is to not forget to submit your registration at the end. That's what generates the auto-generated invoice that starts with S and then it has 5 digits after that. That invoice is, like I said, it's an auto-generated invoice, but you will also receive another invoice from us specifically that is only 4 digits long. They are the same. Both don't have to be paid. It's just one or the other, whichever one you want to push through your process. We do, it's simpler for us to track the 4-digit one. So if on the payment, you're able to input that it's the 4-digit invoice number. So if it's 1234, that's easier to track than the S 123456 number. So same thing with your membership. Don't forget to click the join now after you've input everything. People are not considered members until that button has actually been clicked. So then moving on to,
you know, there was one question that came up, Tanisha, that asked about, is the conference registration open now? The answer, the conference is not. She did mention it is October, correct?
yes. Fees for the regional conference are $20 per contestant. There is not going to be an advisor fee for this virtual event this year, but we are asking that one advisor register per chapter as a point of contact. So if we are having difficulties contacting your students for their information or anything like that, we would like to be able to contact you so that you can then relay the information to your student and it doesn't affect their ability to compete. We are not allowing any observers for the virtual event either. Any questions about that information? No? Okay. So moving on to the substitution policy. So this is new. We're going to implement this on a trial basis for the 2020-2021 year. And Clay will likely have some reminders about this as well. So what we've come up with is for individual contests at the regional conference level, in order to qualify for a substitution, the contest has to have a maximum of 3 contestants per chapter that can be registered. So for example, I believe welding would be one of those that would only allow you to register 3 contestants. So that would be one that would qualify
But other ones that allow you to register 10 or more or anything like that, those would not qualify for an individual competition or substitution. Additionally, your chapter must have met that maximum. So they must have actually registered all 3 slots in order to be eligible to substitute one of those contestants. On the team level, at least half of the original team that was registered must still be able to compete. So if it's a team of 4, a required team of 4, at least 2 of those members must still be able to compete. If you are missing just 1 member, let's say it's last minute or you can't find a substitution or anything like that, the team can still compete, but there will be a penalty. We will be releasing the more detailed substitution policy sometime after the second Fall Leadership Conference, and that will give all of this detailed information about what that penalty will be and that sort of thing.
I've got a comment real quick before we get too far. Keep in mind that this is called a substitution policy. This is not called a change policy. So this doesn't apply if you put them in the wrong contest and you want to change them to another contest. This is purely related to substitutions. You registered someone, they're not able to compete for whatever the reason may be because of this unique year we're in, and you need to substitute a person for them. That's what this is related to. This is not related to, I put them in architecture drafting and I want them in architectural something else. It's not to change a mistake that you made earlier on. It's to substitute someone if they left your school for some reason, if they're not able to compete, right? I just wanted to make that point clear because that is a difference. It's not moving one student from one contest to another and then filling behind them. Thank you.
Additionally, other requirements in order to be eligible for substitution, this section is for either individual or team substitutions. Either way, these are required. There is a fee of $50 per substitute that you register for your chapter. And the fee in this case needs to be paid prior to the event. The substituting member must have been registered as a Skills USA California member by November 13th, which is the conference closing registration date. And they must also be enrolled in a CTE program that is associated with that contest. The substitute cannot be registered for another contest. So that goes hand in hand with what Clay said. If you registered Johnny over in welding and you're trying to move them over to, I don't know, another competition, that wouldn't be able to happen because they would already be registered for the contest. There is also a form that will be released with the substitution policy that we are going to ask advisors or require advisors to complete and submit. That form must be emailed to the email that's provided no less than 10 business days prior to the contest. And as a reminder, business days do not take into account school operating days. So even if school is out of session, business days are still occurring. So winter break, you guys might not be in session, but business days are still happening. So same thing with holidays and weekends, those do not count as business days. And in the substitution policy, there is more details about that. I did provide a link to specific holidays that would be recognized at that point. Okay.
There's a couple of questions in the chat. Is there going to be a blank or observer category for the substitutions on the registration? And the answer to that is no. There won't be an observer category this year. It's just going to be the contestants. And so by those rules, they would be registering behind that other person. That other person would drop and they would come in their place. Another one was if you lose a person on a team and want to replace a student signed up for a single contest, can you do that? You could do that, but know that when you drop them from the single contest, you don't get to fill behind that person. So that person is dropping a contest to join another contest in a team event. And so you will lose that. You know, it's again, the comment I've heard a lot in the past is, well, we have our slot for our school needs to be filled. And again, it gets into a change situation, so you wouldn't be able to fill behind them. 3 contestants for contests. Is it all contests? I didn't understand that one. My apologies. Up here a little bit.
Carol, I'll just ask it out loud. I just want to make sure I understand. This is Christopher Anderson. So I have, multiple competitions, being entered in my school, but I have to, so if I have career pathway showcase, only 3 of those teams would be allowed to participate. So if I have community service, only 3 of those teams would be allowed to participate. No,
thanks for sharing that. No, I think what you heard her say with regards to that was a contest limit issue. If a contest has a limit of 3 teams or individuals per school, then that would.
Thank you. That's why I was clarifying it. I got a little confused. So, but I do remember last year, some of the contests were limited, like photography. Will we know what those limitations are?
You will. Yeah, that'll be coming out in April. April. Jeez, my apologies.
No, I mean for regionals.
No. Yes, I'm sorry. I misspoke. My apologies.
Okay.
That happens.
Me too.
It will be coming out before. It will be coming up before we open that. Open the competitions. It will be there.
Thank you.
You see that $50 is extreme, depending on if a person gets 6, and the 10-day is a situation too. That's correct. I mean, you have to understand what we're dealing with a little bit from a systems perspective. So last year we had a little over 7,000 people registered in the regional events, which is great. We'd love to see 17,000 people registered. But in order for us to change the score sheets, which we have to do, and then get those score sheets to the judges, and then validate that the person that is sitting in front of them is the actual person, because we'll be real honest, we've had a lot of people in the past that, our competition substitution policy in the past, it was pretty open, and we had entire teams that were changing, and they would just take the name tag, and that's fine. We understand that. We're not here to police everybody, but certainly we have to do it in a manner so that as that electronic judging team is looking at the students, they know who they are, and we're aware of who they are as well. And so, it's that sort of information that we have to do to make it work. $50 seems extreme. We hear that as well, but I can. It's one of those situations. It is going to take a lot more work. We did look at other CTSOs, and that's one of the things that they did. So, is that written in stone? Maybe not, but we're certainly pretty strong on what it takes. I mean, you have to understand that from a staffing perspective, as opposed to the past when we had 6 different events, we have 1-day events essentially for every competition, hence the 2-week prior notice. And so as we discuss this through, you could have a situation in one of the heavy contests where maybe you have substitutions on every team, which is going to require a lot of work to make that happen. Plus, we're trying to post results afterwards and those sorts of things. So we're willing to talk about that and work through it if there's something that seems unrealistic. But again, it's one of those things. You could do a team event with one less team, but they're going to lose a percentage of the points. And that has been written down now because we did have a lot of folks in the past that said it's not written anywhere. It is written at the national level. You lose a percentage based on the size of the team and the number of competitors. So that is an option, a team event. An individual event, it's not an option. You can simply sub them. See, I have more stuff coming in here. We knew that there was going to be a few questions on this one.
I see one claim that says if a student gets ill the night before, the team will not be able to compete. No, that's not the case. The team can compete if they are 1 member down. And so that they would just receive a penalty for not having the full team. And the reason behind having the penalty is that if it's a team requirement of 4, let's say, and 1 person gets ill, the other teams that are still competing with all 4 members, they may have a quote unquote weak link, or a member who maybe just really isn't good with a particular part of their presentation, but they still have to participate in the event. And then the team who comes down with the ill member, the 3 that are still there are their best presenters that they have. And so that would be a disadvantage to the other teams that are complete because they had to have all 4 of their members
still present versus the one that was incomplete. And so we do understand that there may be things where someone does come down ill and they aren't able to compete, but we don't want to penalize the whole, or we don't want to make the entire team suffer by being disqualified. So that's why we're putting that in there, but we do have to take into account for the other teams that were complete.
I think the other thing in a virtual environment that we need to understand, I mean, being ill before meant you couldn't get on the bus, you couldn't get to the facility, you couldn't physically stand up and do stuff. Being ill now means you can't turn on your computer and sit in front of a screen. And I understand that that happens. I mean, I know that people get violently ill, but sometimes people get ill because they plan something else and they don't show up. And so in a virtual environment, it's going to be ill means almost pretty much incapacitated, because doing this virtually, even if I was sick today, I could sit here. I may not be on the top of my game. Many of you probably think that already, but that's okay. But certainly I could participate. And so we feel the same way about many of those team events. They're not going to be doing things in a physical environment. They're not going to be hammering nails, welding things, doing that sort of thing. So it's going to be done a different way. Connie, you're ahead of yourself. Yeah, we'll get to that question in just a moment.
Can I add to that, Clay?
Certainly, please.
I think it's also important to know that the national standards have established how many members are on a team, and they have penalties. And we do mirror that because we want to set up our teams for success up to the national level. So we do need to follow those guidelines. And secondly, it is quite impossible for us to make a change the night before and day of contests, because the score sheets have already been made and distributed long before the day of and the day before the event. And so we can't just simply swap someone out real quickly and notify that judge. It's not the way the scoring system works. So I hope that helps add some clarity to that. You're muted.
I know, I saw that. I realized that. They need a hit, somebody can hit. A couple of good things have come up here, and I'm not trying to jump ahead to the presentation later, but certainly one of the questions was, we hope there will be more video submissions this year than there have been in the past. And the answer to that is there will be most likely more video submissions, which is the 2-week piece that I talked about, I skimmed over earlier. So we have some time. I'm going to jump on it right now, if that's okay, Loretta and team.
You're good on time.
We did have, Clay, we did have one question. The advisor wanted clarity on the individual substitution policy for the max of 3 contestants. Can you maybe speak to that some more?
Sure. So if there is a maximum capacity established for a contest, and not every contest has a max capacity per region. For example, in Region 1, it's a large geographical region with not as many students in programs in it. And so they don't have many limits to their contest or capacity limits to their contest. So the chances of them substituting isn't going to be as great as some of the others. If another region, regions 3 and 6 are 2 largest regions. Region 2 is right there with them. If they have a limit on their contests, then it would only that individual contest substitution would only affect those contests where they had a limit on them. Does that help you understand what's going on? To talk a little bit about the video demonstrations. So currently we know there's going to be at least 3 elements to a skill contest. Most leadership contests can run live. Whether it's a team event, whether it's an individual event, whatever it is, and you'll learn more about that if you go to the leadership contest. So I'm not going to steal anything from their presentation. But from a skill contest perspective, it's going to be a little bit different, because we know carpenters can't hammer nails, saw wood, and do those sorts of things live in a 5-minute presentation. And so we know that they don't have access to machines. Many of our skill, the difference between Skills USA and the other CTSOs in many cases is the fact that we actually do skill activities at our conferences, whether they're regional, state, or national. Many of the CTSOs can run theirs in a building that has tables and chairs. They do interviews, they do discussions, they do presentations, those sorts of things. So for those skill events, it is going to be different. Some of you may have been involved in the video demonstration contests from last year. And the good news is we did those, and we learned a lot of things about those video demonstration contests from doing them last year for the events that were demonstration contests, as we called them. In the old days, they were called job demo Cs. We dropped that term. But we learned a lot from that process. We heard a lot of good feedback from it. We had some amazing work turned in. And so we're working to expand that now and make that an option for those advisory committees that are looking to do their skill contest this year. But there's a lot of caveats to that. For example, if it's a welding contest, I'm not picking on welding, but it's one that requires specialized equipment. If it's a welding contest that requires specialized equipment, or an automotive service technology contest, we might actually have a workaround on that one. The team is pretty excited. If it is a computer-driven contest that requires specialized software that is only at the school, it's an enterprise software that the school uses. If it's a cloud-based software, that makes it a different situation. But certainly, many of the programs that you teach are very technical in nature. They require specialized equipment, specialized software, those sorts of things. So if you're in one of those situations that requires a welding machine or a vehicle or whatever that is, we're going to have to set up a video. That team that comes up with the contest is going to have to establish what those demonstrations will look like. And sometimes they can, and sometimes they can't. Certainly in some of the woodworking things, we've had some support from Lowe's and a couple of other companies, AWFS, where students are actually going to be able to build some things at home. And so they're developing contests which would allow them to do a video demonstration of a set of plans that they will get in advance to do that contest. You would have to submit that video, if you're in one of those video contests that has that as one of the elements, to the judging team 2 weeks prior to the contest date. That way they have time to review it and evaluate it and score it so that they can make that happen. The day of the contest, for that contest, whether it's whatever, I've started with welding, so I'll stay there. The day of the contest, it would be whatever elements that team chooses to do, but certainly it'll be a written test. It will be an interview, and it will be a resume that will be, and the resume that we will use in the outlines will be from one of the already existing Skills USA contests. So those are the pieces that will happen the day of the event. That interview will be 3 to 5 minutes so that the judging team can ask questions and see if the person actually knows what they are doing with regards to that content area. It'll give them a chance to interact and work with the students to see what that is. So it's going to be a lot different. I have some new messages, so I better keep going. Loretta, have you been looking at those?
You're muted.
You're muted, Loretta.
So my space bar didn't work on that unmute. Okay, so we do have a few things in the chat. One of the concerns that's mentioned by a few, of course, is connectivity issues. I know that we are still talking about that as a team and how we will respond to situations like that. But a few other things, it looks like that was...
We'll be discussing in a second, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, so we do have a question. We have an aesthetics group that has consistently been the only high school competing. Are we able to invite judge to our campus to judge live without a video submission, assuming they are the only group?
Well, a couple of things on that. Number one, we'd love to know who the judges are. So if you'd forward those to us, we'd really appreciate it, because hopefully aesthetics is a growing area. I know they suffered horribly during the COVID situation. They all had to shut down. My son is a cosmetologist, and he didn't work for 5.5 months. So I know what that industry is suffering from. But certainly, it would be, I would love to talk to them, and you as well, Frank, about how you're doing that in a virtual environment. Are they going out and buying those supplies? Because I don't think they can come to the campus and get them, and maybe they can, and that's fine too. But I'd be happy to talk to those folks. Our team would love to talk to those folks to see if we can develop something that would work for folks. But certainly, it's going to be on a contest by contest basis. And that's what we're trying to work on with some of these advisory teams to figure out how we can make that happen. Hopefully you won't be the only school this year, and that would be good too.
Yeah. Okay, I think that we can go ahead and move on, Tanisha. The other questions are on your next slide, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
So continuing on with the substitution policy, the one for the state conference, for individual contests, there are no substitutions allowed, but we do ask that if you have a student that cannot attend, and to notify the staff immediately, because what will happen is we will then invite the next highest scorer from your region. So we want to be able to give them the opportunity to plan and have time to, prepare and everything for the contest if they're then going to get invited. For teams, the same rules apply as did for regionals, except in this case, instead of having half of the team that originally registered being able to compete, now it's half the team that actually competed at the regional event. So if you had a team of 4 people at regionals and you had to substitute 2 at the regional event, now those 2 substitutes that came in are now part of the team that actually competed. So you need to have at least half of them still able to compete. The fee for the state conference is now $75 per substitute and also paid prior to the event. And the proper form must be submitted by March 25th, 2021. So that's all the information for the state conference. And then for results, regional conference results will be posted within a week after the contest. And the reasoning behind that, I know I've got that question quite a bit, is why is there a delay? And the data is actually input by hand, and then it's reviewed by multiple people to make sure that for accuracy. And then sometimes we need judge clarification on items. Sometimes, especially at the live events, sometimes judges don't write the clearest handwriting, and so numbers, you can't really tell what they are, and so you have to ask them or contact them, and those sorts of things happen. So just some of that communication stuff. And then it also depends on the region as well, or how many people were there. The larger regions, it takes longer to input the information and then to process it than it does for the smaller regions. Okay.
One of the things that's kind of exciting about the virtual environment is, for the first time in the years that I've been around, and I think probably for the time that our state association has been around, all of the students in all of the regions will be judged by the same team of judges. And so there will not be a situation where you have some judges in some regions that were real strict and some judges in other regions that were real easy. It will be like a mini state event in that the same judges will be assessing and evaluating the students in every contest across the state of California, which gives us a couple of things. If we do this and something were to happen where a state got canceled for some reason, one way or another, and we weren't able to hold something, we would know who would then be able to advance to the national contest level should it run. So that's a cool thing. The other thing is, as Tanisha mentioned, many times a lot of these score sheets and things were done by hand. And we're trying to come up with a way, and it shouldn't be too hard to do, but certainly to get them to do the input of those scores in an electronic format, or at least in a way where they can do it so they don't physically have to write something on a piece of paper, because that is one of the challenges. I mean, you can imagine judging all of the tests that you do with your students and the essays that you have them write. Sometimes you're not real sure what they do unless they do it on a computer. So pretty excited about that opportunity this year. The results will be posted by region, as Tanisha mentioned. So you will still have your gold, silver, and bronze medalists per region if you had an event in that region and you had contestants in it. So trying to honor that piece, but at the same time, it'll give us some really cool information, which I was excited about. I'm not sure some of the judging teams were thrilled about, seeing 300 people in a day, but it wouldn't be 300, but certainly a lot of folks in a day. And it means long days for them and long days for some of your people as well. And that goes back to the thing that I saw in the chat earlier, which is they're going to have, each contestant is going to be assigned a time slot for their contest. Their responsibility is to show up for that time slot for that contest. You're going to receive that time slot for that contest before you go on winter break. So, you know, I'm guessing that a month and a half out, depending on when their contest is being held, should be ample time for them to set aside time on that Saturday to participate virtually in the event. Obviously, they're going to have to do some other things too, depending on what that contest is. But certainly, that will be how it is set up, and they will be held to that slot, just like if it were a contest that was being run live. We can't, when you think of one of the impacted contests, if they had 30 contestants in 4 regions, you know, that's 120 contestants. If a person misses a time slot and they're 5 minutes in length, we can't go until midnight to try and I can't boot somebody out of another slot because your person couldn't get into one. And so we are going to have to hold to that pretty, from a just pure logistics way, we're going to have to assign the time slots and make those work as best we can. Loretta, I saw you tilting your head. Did you have something?
Oh, I was just giving myself a little grooming on my hair. So we do have some great time for questioning here. I do want to note that our next slide will talk about our breakout sessions. And so Tanisha, if you could show us that before, we're not going to break right now, but you will have 3 to choose from, and the links are on your FLC guide. And we have, of course, Career Essentials. So for those of you who want to be digging into Career Essentials, we have an advisor-led session, and we have someone from the national office here with us to help you through that. And then you can choose from either a skills or a leadership session. And in those, we're going to do some really specific things. So when we open up for questions right now, just know that if you decide to go into leadership or into skills, you're going to get some more information specifically about those and how to choose a contest, how to prepare for that contest. So back everyone to our closing session. We're in the home stretch. Thanks for hanging in with us today. And I know we had a glitch with one of our rooms, and thanks for hanging in, and we'll certainly do better at that. I am going to be turning this over. Oh, see, we're going to get some animations going on. Okay, so welcome back. In this session, we are going to have Tara Nielsen from the Department of Education. She will give us an update from the state and talk about CTIG and Perkins and accountability for reporting. We have a few special announcements. We have a short message from our alumni team, and then our students are going to rejoin us and share with us their experience from their conference that they've been going on. We'll recap just a little bit, and then our students will close us out. So if you have any questions during this session, please put them in the chat. Ashley Conger, our Region 4 manager, will be monitoring the chat along with Tanisha Jones, and Antonio Garcia is probably helping us out a little bit there. So here we go. I would like to welcome our state advisor for Skills USA California, Tara Nielsen. She's from the Department of Education. She is a former advisor from Region 4. And I'm going to just turn it right over to her. I'm going to get her presentation loaded, and she can introduce herself to you all. And Tara, take it away.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here this afternoon. Or are we still in the morning? I think we're still in the morning for a few more minutes. Okay. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All righty. So Skills USA and California Department of Education. I am here today to talk to you specifically about 2 of the main resources that are available to our LEAs for funding, and to use that funding for your CTSO. So like Loretta said before, I'm going to be talking about CTIG and Perkins and some accountability and reporting. All right, here's a little definition of the CTIG. It is the Career Technical Education Incentive Grant. It is an initiative to provide K through 12 the knowledge and skills necessary to transition to employment and post-secondary education. That is the focus. Next slide. As you can see here from the high quality CTE program evaluation, CTIG and CTSOs apply to 3B numbers, Standard 6 and Standard 8, and how you give examples of that are the things that you're already doing in your chapters, which is your activities, the career essentials, and your competitions. So that's all the evidence, the things that you do within there that can qualify these minimum standards. Next slide. Here's a list of some of the allowable expenses in relation to a CTSO. So again, CT can help pay for your career essentials, some of your chapter activities, competitions, the transportation, the food and refreshments, it's all involved in that. CT can pay for those things. The next slide just talks about non-allowable expenditures as it pertains to a CTSO, which is traveling outside of the United States. The next resource that is available to your district is the Perkins. This is federal money that is used to serve specifically CTE instruction, to serve special populations and meet gender equity needs. So according to their program evaluation in relation to a CTSO, I'm sorry, Loretta, next slide. Again, the things that you're already doing within your chapter, which is your program of work, the chapter activities, competitions, your career essentials, any of the marketing, any of the educating your stakeholders, all the things that you do for that can be used as evidence to fulfill the standard number 4, student support and student leadership development. Next slide. Here are some of the things that Perkins can be used for in relation to CTSO. The main one is your Career Essentials program that you can use Perkins money to pay for some of those Career Essential programs. And next slide, we'll list some of the non-allowable expenditures when it comes to Perkins, which is your food and registration for any student that is not a member of special populations, amusement park tickets, awards, and any entertainment costs. Next slide. So just real quick, once again, these are all the wonderful industry supporters that are out there that are supporting Skills USA, that are supporting our Career Essentials program, and are recognizing the industry certifications that the Career Essentials program offers. So these are some different companies that are supporting in what we are doing for Skills USA. So some of the accountability and reporting that you will need to do in order to make sure that you can continue having resources is to have an official CTSO. So the evidence that you would show for that is your applications, agenda, minutes, sign-in sheets, all those things that prove that you do have a CTSO. Next slide.
I'm getting a few questions, Tara, so just let me know when you want me to go ahead and let you know about those.
Okay, go ahead.
So we have one from Eric. He said, can Perkins be used to also pay for a second advisory who is not a CTE teacher who assists the CTE teacher?
Or is he asking if Perkins will?
Yeah.
A non-CTE teacher? No. Okay. It has to be a CTE teacher.
And Paul commented, I was told Perkins will pay students this year. Is this true?
You know, I'm going to have to ask my Perkins consultants because I know that some of the things have changed. I think Clay answered it that it is allowable, but I'd like to double check that and get back to you.
Okay. Let's see. We have lots of people are asking about our PowerPoint, and our PowerPoints will be posted on our website, I believe, after our last FLC, Loretta, correct?
That's correct. Our intention was to post them following next weekend's FLC in case we needed to make any appropriate updates, and that so that they would be consistent for both sessions.
Okay.
So that FLC conference page under the conference tabs, we'll host that and links to videos and things like that there.
Okay, and then last question. Nate posted that you had mentioned Perkins will pay registration for special populations. Are you able to elaborate on that a little more?
Sure. There's a special populations category that is defined. Let's see. It is defined as to what it is. Special populations are. We're talking about the your foster care, your homeless kids, those types of students. And my screen is totally freezing up right now. Hang on. Okay, individuals with disabilities. There's a whole list of them, of what those special categories are. Let's see, individuals from economically disadvantaged families, including low-income youth and adults, individuals preparing for non-traditional fields, single parents, including single pregnant women, out-of-work individuals, your ELs, your English learners, your homeless individuals, youth who are in or have aged out of the foster care system, and youth with a parent who is a member of the armed forces and or is on active duty. So those are the different categories that Perkins looks at in regards to covering students that are in those categories.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Any other questions?
We just got one more. How do we prove to qualify for one of those categories?
Well, that is something that happens at registration with your district. So it's how your district codes the student is how that information is pulled. There isn't anything extra that you would have to do. It's your district inputting that information.
And Tara, I think to clarify that and tell me, correct me if I'm wrong, if you're a Title I school and those students fall into that special populations category because of their economic disadvantages, and I think it's also something that language is checked when they do their review of the school for federal programs monitoring purposes.
Exactly. So, but if you're worried about, like, is there something else that you needed to do? No, you do not. It's just all part of your district, how they enter in students into the CalPAD system and what have you. And then, of course, it's checked at the FPM, at your federal program monitoring. Thank you, Clay. All right. Any other questions?
Did you cover this slide or?
No, not yet.
Okay, just making sure I'm in the right place for you. Let's go
Okay.
ahead and move on, and we can open up for questions if we still have more time.
Okay. Another accountability and reporting is you'll need to have some kind of description of your student leadership development that is embedded into your career pathway through CTSO and all other CTE pathway students participate in. This is basically your career essentials and your chapter of excellence program. So again, in regards to reporting out to your district office as to what you're doing in CTE, and your CTSO, you don't have to do anything extra because you're already doing it within the Career Essentials program in your Chapter of Excellence program. That's what you use as your evidence. Next slide. Providing opportunities for all students to participate in after school, extended day, out of school, internships, competitions, etc. This again is your program of work in your Chapter of Excellence program. So you want to make sure that your district folks know about these things, that you're doing these things to show that you are fulfilling the requirements of being able to access Perkins and CTIG funding. And lastly, students are made aware of these options when they enroll. This is all your marketing materials that you do, the master scheduling, the career plan. Next slide, Loretta. The career plan that you do with your students. So these are all evidence. I'm sorry, one more. And a local CTSO work plan is developed annually and a copy is furnished to your local administration. It is a really good idea to have a work plan if you don't already have one. It's really important to have those things so that you have some sort of strategy, have some goals into what you want to accomplish. So this is also demonstrated within your program of work.
Can I just ask one thing, or maybe go back a couple of slides if you would, Loretta? There's the language changed, right? One more. This one, stop right there. So this was the language that was updated in the new Perkins plan, which has a new title, by the way, but we still call it Perkins because we've only been doing it since 1955 or something. And as you see, it allows for students, you can use Perkins to spend money on after-school programs, extended day programs, out-of-school internships. So it provided the locals with some flexibility when they submitted their plans to the state of California. So because one of the things I know I used to get all the time, and I'm sure Tara's going to get them, and the Perkins people do too, are the complaints about people saying, they're spending it on this, they can't do that. It's like, talk to your Perkins coordinator at your school, because he or she will have that answer, and maybe it'll help your blood pressure go down just a hair. Because certainly it did provide some flexibility this year that we weren't accustomed to having in the past, which is good for schools and students. It's not necessarily great for CTSOs, but it gives us an opportunity to show the real value of what we do in CTSOs, because it meets all of the things that Tara has mentioned here, which is a really good thing.
Right. And it's both funding sources, both Perkins and CTIG take this into account. They both ask for these types of things. So you're not having to do anything extra. It is already the things that you are doing. So if we can move ahead to what can your chapter do? All right, I cannot stress the following slides enough. I see this as a consultant when I'm reading the applications for funding and things like that. I'm really not seeing a presence of CTSOs like there should be. And I know that you guys are doing really great work, and I'd really like to see you be more active in letting your districts know that you exist and that you're doing some really great things. So what are some things that you can do as a chapter? Evaluating your program for size, quality, and alignment. So establishing monthly and yearly chapter goals. I know that is something that when I was at Pioneer, shout out to David and Laith, that was something that we always did right before the school year started. We did an officer retreat where we really spelled that out and talked about what we were planning activity-wise, what we wanted to accomplish, and things like that. So having those things in advance will really help guide the work that you're going to be doing. And that way also your students will be able to share that with community, with stakeholders as well, because it'll also give them the buy-in. Next slide. Strengthen your stakeholder relationships with your post-secondary, your parents, your students, community, local businesses. Get them more involved in what you're doing in your chapter and have them very active. It could be judges, it can be contributions, it can be all kinds of things, but having them more and talking to them more and having them more involved is only going to help you when it comes time to making sure that your chapter is supported. Next slide. Getting that business and industry actively involved in your chapter and your advisory, and that business and industry is actively talking to your administration and your district board members, and making sure that they know that these things, the career pathways that you have, the courses that you're doing are just as important as all the rest of the classes. And sometimes hearing it from business and industry can really strengthen what it is you're trying to do. Remind your district that a CTE pathway and your programs helps your dashboard. It isn't just your AP classes. CTE pathway is just as relevant as an AP, okay? Next one. It's also important whether you share, if you have a group of advisors at your school, you may want to share the wealth. And I really want to urge you to be part of developing the LCAP, the site plan, your CTE plan, any WASP processes, and CTE funding applications. I hear a lot from LEAs that are saying, why can't I get funding for that? Like Clay mentioned, and this is why, because you are not part of the process. Your school community should be aware of your CTE program and your CTSO, and this is the way to do it. I can tell you, because right now I'm reading a lot of CTIG applications, that CTE alone is not really present on a lot of the LCAPs that are out there. There are some LCAPs that have great support for their CTSO. They've even gotten that specific, and that is fantastic. I would like to see all the LCAPs be that way so that we can make sure that our CTSOs are funded properly. And the next slide, making sure that you have a presence on your school website. Again, I cannot stress that enough. It's really hard to find out what's going on at your school. A lot of times I don't even know that Skills USA exists, let alone your CTE pathway. So if you are not currently present on your school website and or your district website, you need to make it a priority. It's important that people know what wonderful things that you guys are doing, because there really is some really great programs out there, and they're just not being advertised. And that's unfortunate, because there's some great things. Making sure that you attend, maybe present, plan maybe once a year to present, and always thank your board members at your board meetings. It can help go a long way when you're trying to request for money. Next slide. So there is support out there for you advisors. If you check out the cde.ca.gov, specifically on Career Tech Ed web pages, they have quite an extensive distance learning. There's been a lot of webinars being posted. And of course, you can always contact education consultants like myself. There's a handful of us that are there for you to support you. We're divided up by region, and always contact us, and if you ever have any questions or concerns. And then of course, CTE Online is another way for you to access curriculum, instruction, ideas for activities to do in your classes. And the last one that is my contact information. Please feel free to email me, is probably the best, because we're all working remotely right now. If you have any questions or anything along those lines, I'll be more than happy to help you in any way that I can.
We are going to talk real quickly about two things. Some of you already know about the fall speaker series. Immediately after COVID kind of took over our lives, we decided that we would start a weekly conversation with business and industry folks. So every Tuesday at 2, except for these last 2 weeks because of the fall leadership, we are having a Zoom speaker series, and you can find that information on the state website. There's a link right on the homepage at the very top. You can see what the fall season is all about. Tara will be coming back next week to talk, but following that, we have someone from arts, media, and entertainment industry. We have the construction industry coming. We just had some great calls that were recorded and posted already from the manufacturing industry, also computer programming, cybersecurity. So if you're needing a quick little assignment or video or something to interact your students with an industry speaker, these 30 minutes could be a really great opportunity for them. We are giving away prizes for attendance, and we hope to see you there. So Tuesdays at 2, and the link is posted on our speaker page on the Skills USA California website. I'd also like to introduce you to the Leadership Academy. This is all new. We have a generous supporter who really wanted to embrace the idea that younger students have leadership potential. And so this is going to be open to students that are in 8th to 10th grade. We were about to launch it this last summer and unfortunately, of course, had to cancel it. We hope to bring this to you live in a weekend retreat format. And if that's not the case, we will do something virtually. It is free tuition. So our generous donors have made sure that we will be able to do this, but it is an application required event because it is a limited space. We will do team building. We will work through the 4 pillars of leadership and just helping develop the younger students going into the leadership roles that they will go into as 11th and 12th graders. So we hope that you will keep your eyes out and open for that and let your students know when applications are available because we will be sending that to the advisors. We have a little alumni message here for you. It's just like a 2-minute video. As the former alumni coordinator, I really appreciate Rima and Faustino as they have been trying to continuously engage our members. Students on the call, you can join today and become an alumni member even before you leave your chapter. We hope that you will come back and work with your chapter. So I'm going to play this quick video.
I'm Rima. I'm one of the coordinators for the Alumni and Friends for Skills USA California. Are you looking for an easy way to stay connected with your Skills USA family? The Alumni Association gives past members the opportunity to come together again and assist the organization. There are a lot of different ways for you to get involved. A lot of people volunteer at regional, state, 12 leadership conferences, as well as our National Leadership and Skills Conference. If you have a specific skill set and would like to work with us, please contact us and we'll try and set something up. We're excited to announce 6 new regional alumni volunteer positions. We're looking for motivated individuals who want to connect with their region. If you're interested, sign up for Alumni and Friends today. We'll get more information on how to apply soon. So if you're wondering how to join, all you have to do is go to our website, skillsusaca.org/alumni. On our page, you're going to find our contact information and social media. Just remember to click on Join Alumni. If you have any questions, please email Faustino and I, and we'll be happy to get back to you. Hope you enjoyed your Fall Leadership Conference.
At this point, I'd like to welcome back our Skills USA California state officers for today's student demonstration.
So I believe Priyanka is starting off with our first workshop.
Oh, I'm sorry. My screen froze since I was confused. Sorry. So yeah, we're going to our student demonstration. So Priyanka, Janessa, and I all asked you guys questions in our workshops, and now we're gonna ask you guys here publicly. So Hope you guys enjoy and take it away, Priyanka.
Okay, so my workshop was mock job interviews. And the first question is for Maisie T from Region 2, Dinuba High School. And her question is, what is the number one most important thing to succeed in a job interview? So Maisie, take it away.
The most important thing you need to have in a job interview is confidence.
That is correct. The second question is for Nicholas P. from Region 6, Banning High School. And his question is, should a job interview sound more like a conversation or a bragging post, and why?
It should be more like a conversation because you want them to be sure like this is the perfect job for you.
Okay, and our last question is for Raphael G. from Region 2, North Monterey County High School. And his question is, what are 3 framework elements in a job interview and which one is the most important to you?
Well, I feel like the 3 framework elements would be professionalism, teamwork, and responsibility. And I feel like the most important one would be responsibility because as an employee, as a worker, I feel like it is my responsibility to be professional and work with my co-workers as well.
Great, thank you. Next up, we have workshop number 2. So, which I believe is Ishan, so take it away.
All right, hi guys. So Michael from Banning High School, what is your favorite fundraising method and why?
One that we're going to do later this year is in my carpentry class. We will be building things like bookshelves, chairs, and tables, and either making one-time sales on them or making raffles for events that are happening in our district. And the way that we would promote it and advertise it is have little pop-ups in Google Classrooms and put flyers around our school.
Thank you for the detailed answer, Michael. I love it. All right, next question. Brianna C. from Rowan High School. How will you be fundraising for your chapter this upcoming year?
Hello. So for fundraising this year, I had a chance to see a lot of fundraiser ideas that I hadn't previously thought of. Some fundraising ideas that we saw was an online auction, custom masks, to contact local businesses, some sales drives, bidding raffles, and a game night. Now for me, I really enjoyed the game night idea with a paid admission so that everyone could have a teamwork and like everyone could communicate and just have fun with everything. I thought that was a really good idea.
Thank you so much, Brianna. Great answer. And next person, Alexandria L. from Dinuba High School. What are 2 framework elements connected to fundraising and how are they involved?
So 2 frameworking elements that are connected to fundraising are professionalism and planning, organization, and management. Professionalism is connected to fundraising through contacting businesses, giving thorough information about your for your fundraiser, and then thanking them to set a foundation for your relationship in the future. And planning, organization, and management is connected to it through brainstorming ideas and making a solid plan for your fundraiser to make sure it goes as smoothly as possible.
So much, Alexandra. Thank you all for your participation. And next person we have is Janessa for workshop 3. So thank you guys. Take it away, Janessa.
Hello, everyone. So my name is Janessa, and I worked alongside Jolene Lee, Vani Tiagi, and Natania Enriquez, and we discussed virtual chapter meetings. So for our first question, I will have Alicia D. from Region 1 from Cordova High School answer this question. Your question is, what social media platforms do you use to connect with your chapter members? What do you like about it, and how do you utilize it?
So for my whole entire team, we use Remind because it is an easiest platform to use because, well, in my families and some other families in our area, they are not allowed to use social media websites because a lot of esteem goes down from social media. And the way we utilize it is to interact with one another and
Thank you, Alicia. Great answer. I really appreciate it.
Sorry.
No, that was great. You did amazing. Thank you so much for participating. So our next question will be answered by Manuel from Pioneer High School, Region 4. His question is, why is it important to follow parliamentary procedure? How have you structured your chapter meetings and activities this way?
So it's important to follow parliamentary procedures because meetings and activities are the face of a chapter. Following parliamentary procedure means having a good image. In light of our meetings being virtual, we've decided to make meetings as fast as possible since students are really tired from online school and that sort of thing. So one of the ways we've done this is that we've actually removed some sections of our meetings, one of which including fundraisers. However, to make up for losing, one of them being icebreakers. And to make up for the loss of icebreakers, we've actually planned on making, we are making virtual game nights where we invite our members to come and play games like Among Us or Jackbox games every other Friday.
Thank you so much, Manuel, for that answer. Our next question will be answered by Edward S. from Region 4 and also from Pioneer High School. Your question is, which of the program of work committees is your favorite and why? And how will you use a program of work in your chapter?
I'd have to say my favorite program of work committee would be community engagement, as we need to stay connected with students at Pioneer High School and the larger businesses that have supported us in the past. And so that one's my favorite, the interaction. And we're going to need to use that a lot to, communicate with students, keep them involved, even during a pandemic, keep them involved virtually through events we have planned, and to also let, the wider community know that, Pioneer High School Skills USA is still around. We're still operating. So I gotta say that's my favorite one, and one that I'll be using a lot.
Okay, thank you so much, Edward, for sharing your response. Finally, that concludes our student demonstrations. I want to thank everyone, all the students, student leaders that participated and engaged with our workshops. It was really, really fun getting to know all of you guys, do the icebreakers, and get know more information about everything. So I want to thank all of you guys once again, and I will be passing it over to our California State Director, Clay Mitchell.
Thank you, Janessa. Appreciate it. And let's give all the students a hand. Let's go to your reaction. Give them a hand. Give them a thumbs up. Good job. Excellent job. Way to hang through it. See, and they probably didn't have any technical difficulties like those of us adults did. So we appreciate that. And very evident that the students learned a lot, and appreciate you advisors bringing them with you today and signing them up, because that is critical to the success of your chapters. Hope to see more students involved in the future, because this is the Fall Student and Advisor Leadership Conference. So make sure that next year as these things come up, it would be great to have students engaged at a higher level, just so we can make that happen, all right? First off, thank you to Loretta and the team for everything you did to put this together today. I think the only glitches, once again, were by yours truly, speaking at the current moment. But we'll get better. We're all faced with a lot of challenges with regards to technology and making it used in a proper manner. I want to thank everybody who attended today. You took a lot of time out of your Saturday to come and visit us. The one thing I've learned from doing virtual environment meetings is they tend to go a little bit quicker than they do when you meet face-to-face, just because of the interaction and how it happens. Obviously, I didn't do a great job of that today because my group was late coming back because I didn't get them in on time. So my apologies for that team that showed up to our competitive events piece. But certainly, thank you to everybody who showed up, to the team, to the advisors. I mean, this is a lot of work in addition to all the other things you do by virtual grading and the things that you do there as well. And appreciate you being here. And I know we're not done yet. Looking at my little list here, we have a few more things to complete before the date. So we have a moment if you'd like any more questions, answers that you want addressed before we move to the closing ceremonies with our state officer team. This is your chance.
I didn't see any brewing in the chat. I see a lot of shout outs to students. Advisors, you must be very proud of what your students have done here today. We are certainly proud of them, and especially proud of our state officer team, our very first virtually elected, virtually trained state officer team. You guys did an amazing job, so shout out to I'd like to welcome back your state officers to close our first virtual Fall Leadership Conference.
I know everyone's already said their thank yous to everyone, but I'd like to give a big thank you to you all, to the students, the staff, advisors, and the other state officers for participating today. It really means a lot that you all took the time out of your day to come here and learn, and hopefully you all will take something back to your chapters and apply that, and everyone can benefit from today's workshop. And if any of the other state officers have something to say, that'd be great as well.
I just want to thank everyone for coming out. I know it was early and it's a Saturday, but it means a lot to us. We put a lot of work into it and we were looking forward to it. So it was amazing to see all you beautiful people come out and engage in our workshop. So shout out to all the students for participating. We really appreciated it.
I just want to say, oh, sorry, Natalia, you
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, it seems like a small thing, but when you guys took notes and things like that, we really appreciated that. That really showed that you guys were engaged and interacting with the content. So we really appreciate, paying attention and taking notes. And so thank you guys so much.
Even though it wasn't in person, I mean, we can still see that you guys are all amazing leaders and you guys are going to do good things and there's good things ahead of you. So it'll be great.
Yeah, you guys did such an amazing job, and you guys were using your Zoom etiquette just so well, and I didn't hear no one unmuted, or I didn't hear any background noise, so you guys did an amazing job. We were really respectful.
Yeah, I agree with everyone. You guys all did amazing today, and like everyone said, we really appreciate that you guys took all this time out of your day to come here and learn about stuff, and we all hope that you did learn something. And even though it's a Saturday, it's okay. Still tomorrow, but yeah, I hope you guys had a good day with us today, and yeah.
Adding on to what everyone said, I just want to thank you guys all for participating and sharing your ideas with different chapters. So we had a lot of good icebreaker ideas and virtual chapter meeting ideas. So that was really great that you guys were willing to share, and you guys can take a lot from the Fall Leadership Conference.
Another thing is, I hope you guys benefit. I hope you guys actually use what we taught you in the future. So if you guys do let us know. We're all on social media. It would be great to hear back from you guys and how what we taught you helped you guys in your chapters.
Yeah, just how Priyanka was saying, to follow us on our social media at SkillsUSACA. We'll put it down in the chat. You can follow us on Instagram and Facebook, and take a look at our website. There's a lot of updates and information that goes on there. And also you can follow any of our Skills USA officers with their first name .skillsusa. So if you guys can go do that just to stay updated, and thank you tons for coming out today.
I just want to thank the state officers as well for doing a great job. You guys really just flowed well together. And I did give the students a side note, is that myself and Mr. Tycho have not met our state officers in person. So if you think virtual meetings are impossible and getting things organized and done, it is totally possible. So that's just a side note. We have not met them in person yet.
All right, Layali, would you like to close us out?
Yes. So, Mr. Secretary, have you a record of any further business to come before the meeting at this time? Mr. Secretary?
Madam President.
Does any member know of any new or unfinished business that should come before this meeting? Since there is no further business to come before the meeting at this time, we will prepare to adjourn. Since the rule is the basic instrument of our work, it is particularly fitting that we select the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you, to govern our lives. Let us speak our pledge.
Upon my honor, I pledge to prepare myself by diligent study and ardent practice to become a worker whose services will be recognized as honorable by my employer and fellow workers, to base my expectations of reward upon the solid foundation of service, to honor and respect my vocation in such a way as to bring repute to myself, and further to spare no effort in upholding the ideals of Skills USA.
I now declare this meeting adjourned until our next regular meeting or until a special meeting shall be called by your president.